Welcome to Restore My Song, a space to be encouraged by two friends who love Jesus and see His purpose in all things, even pain. Every episode you'll hear real stories from real people who asked, "How am I going to make it through this?" and found God's redemption. Here's your hosts, Joia Hyde and Rhema Toll.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Restore My Song, the podcast where you'll hear us tell about lots of mundane moments in our lives, but also some really beautiful, cool ones too. I think we'll be able to look back in a couple years and go, wow, a lot happened in our lives, even just based off of these intros.
That's true.
Right? Because day in and day out, it just seems like normal stuff. And I think in the light of Jesus in eternity, a lot of these little things will be big things. Yes.
That's so true.
Yeah. So today we have a special guest, Nancy Bruscher from Parker, Colorado. And hi, Nancy. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Good. So before we jump into Nancy's story and talk about who she is a little bit more, I know Joia has a great, amazing update to share of a very cool experience she had last week. So go ahead, Joia, take it away.
I do, and I'm just jumping out of my seat to tell you because I wore the hat, and I had to wear the hat. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, this is my new CeCe Winans hat because I got to go to the actual CeCe Winans concert at the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado, and it was top 10 best experiences of my life. Okay? I have wanted to see CeCe Winans in concert my entire life since I was a little girl, and my husband got us tickets, and it was incredible. Like, what a cool preview for heaven it was. If you don't know who CeCe Winans is, I don't know what you're doing listening to this podcast. You need to turn it off and go listen to her music. She is so spirit-filled, and she just led 10,000 people in worshiping the Lord, and it was beautiful. And one of my favorite parts about it was 10,000 people. That's a large crowd, right? There were people that would recognize each other from across the way, and they would wave at each other. And I was like, this is what heaven's going to be like when we all get there and we're like, hey, we're so glad you made it, right? Like, how awesome is this? How awesome is Jesus? So yeah, like I am wearing this hat every single day. If you can't see it, it says, Jesus, you're my king. And it's one of her songs. Again, if you haven't heard it, turn this off. Go do something like that. Listen to that. How's that for advertising, Rhema? Pretty good.
Yeah, that was How about you? It's our podcast now, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true. My kids were like, maybe CeCe Winans will come on to your podcast someday. And I was like, you never know what the Lord's going to do. You know, like you never know. But I do have a new life goal, and then I'll shut up. She radiates the love of Jesus, the joy of Jesus so much. And that is my goal. Like, I just want to do the same as well as CeCe Winans does it. I want people to know the love of Jesus just by being around me.
Isn't Red Rock just the most beautiful place to see a concert ever?
I had never been there, and it was incredible. Like, music is so important to me. So, like, to be there in that setting, oh, it was just incredible.
Well, Joia, I'm so glad you had such an awesome experience at CeCe Winans. You are glowing, and you do need the love of Jesus.
Oh,
so
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But like, I cannot tell you, if you ever have a chance to see her in concert, go do it. Because if I ever have another chance, I'm going.
You're going. I love that. How about you, Nancy? Did you get to catch any concerts this summer, or I don't know, trip or something you did with your family?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is we have an outdoor pool. It's an above ground, but we have just been in it every single day that
Nice.
can be. like around the end of July, it got really cold here, which was so strange. So we couldn't go in for a few days. I mean, really cold, like 70, but that's a little
Sure.
too.
That's cold. Yeah, for outside swimming.
Yeah, it's just super special to me because I love swimming and my husband doesn't, but he took all of this time to put up a pool for me. And then, of course, it broke. It just rot because it was like May and I had my hopes up in a pool. I know, first world problems, but I was so excited about it, and it was like destroyed at like end of May, beginning of June, and I was like, we don't have time to do it. He's so busy. We're not going to be able to do it. Like, just kind of had a little meltdown about it, and he redid the entire thing for me. Like, had
Wow.
to take all the water out, redo the entire pool, fill it all the way back up, and so I love swimming, but now it's like even more important to me, or like more like every time I get in, I'm like reminded of what my husband did for me. He's only months, like he does not get into the pool. He did it all for. So anyway, that just makes me happy.
Nice.
Who knew a swimming pool would be so romantic?
Right?
Exactly.
Your old self probably would have never pictured that, but here we are.
Yeah. Married 19 years, so this is what it is now.
I love it. That is love, right? Is like figuring out what your person just makes them light up and then help get it. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Well, Nancy, we're so excited to have you here today and to learn more about you. Neither Joia nor I, I've just had like a little phone call with you, but our connection is through Joya's brother, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, who we had on the podcast like a couple episodes ago. And then Nancy just reached out to us and was like, hey, I have a podcast too, which is great. I've listened to a few episodes. It's lots of really cool parallel stories similar to what we're doing here. And so her podcast is called Ordinary People, Extraordinary Things. And actually, we give us a lot, or you could teach us a lot because you've been going for 4 years now, which is incredibly beautiful and sounds like full-time mom in it and homeschooling your 2 kids. And yeah, so we are looking forward to hearing about your story today too, and just God's put on your heart to share. So thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool. How did you get started podcasting?
What was that?
How did you get started podcasting?
Okay, so this is an amazing story. About 4 years ago, God put it on my heart to start a podcast. I'm a history major. I've done oral history for 19 years. I've been told who to get their stories for libraries and museums. And then I started my own business, Generations to Generations, 19 years ago, where I started getting people's stories and making their own movies and their own books and all of that. And on top of homeschooling and being a wife, and I mean, we volunteer so much at church and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. I felt God was saying, you need to add a podcast. He gave me the name, that it was supposed to be about ordinary people telling their stories of faith and hope. And I said, no, absolutely not. I told myself it was because of busy, but really it was about fear. And the fear of, what if I do this? What if I put myself out there and then no one listens? And then down the road, someone says, hey, how's your podcast? And I'm like, yeah, it didn't go anywhere. So I disobeyed God is what it really comes down to. Like, I really felt a calling. It wasn't an audible voice, but like a calling to do it. And I didn't. And then there was a women's conference and I went, and they asked people to get into circles and pray. And even though I do podcasts, I am not an extrovert. And so asking to go into the circles and pray with people I did not know, again, I was like, oh, maybe I can kind of use a bathroom or something, how you just like, and I felt like God was saying, Nancy, press into like the tiniest bit of hard, right? This is not really hard to pray with people. So I stayed in it, and everyone gave one word, and it came me, I was the last person, and I shared a lot of what I just shared with you. Was I am really feeling God tell me to do this podcast, and I don't want to. Fear, busyness, whatever. And I put my hands over my ears and I said, God, I don't want to hear you. And then prayer ended. The speaker came on. She was from another state. I'd never met her. And her whole thing was about calling. And, she's giving Bible stories of like, if you're being called, you need to do it. And I was like, yeah, I can still dismiss it at this time. Because I was really like being disobedient. And then she said, maybe you're saying, God, I don't want to hear you. And she put her hands over her ears and said the exact same words. And every lady I had just prayed with looked at me and was like, what just happened? God spoke directly to you through this other woman. And I was like, okay, God, we'll do it. We'll do it. And I went up to her afterwards and I told her the story. And she said, I've never used those words or used that hand gesture before. That was for you.
Wow.
So a pretty amazing story of why I started.
Man,
Wow.
that's so cool. So did you just jump right into it after that? Were you like, okay, here we go?
Yep. About a month later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had been disobedient long enough and I went for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can relate to that. When Rhema first reached out to me to do this podcast, it took me months. I was just dragging my feet. It's like, why? Like, why does she want to do it with me? I am not ready. I don't want to do this. Basically, I was doing the same thing you were, like, no, like, nobody wants to hear from me. Like, nobody wants to hear this. And then I was driving one day and out of nowhere, again, it wasn't audible or anything like that, but I just felt him in my spirit say, hey, here's a platform that I've given you to have a voice, and you're not even taking it. And so I called Rhema up and was like, I guess it's time to get started.
Do you think part of it is that insignificance as far as, okay, I might have a platform, but is it like I see all these people that have huge podcasts or huge social media followings or, I mean, whatever. I mean, if someone's listening and they're like, I don't have a podcast, but I think you can still relate, is this idea of, can I give, if it's not huge, is my small, like, offering enough for God or enough for me? Really? Is it enough?
Yeah, I think what you're saying perfectly lines up with the idea of who are we doing this for? Are we doing this for the world's expectations of what a podcast is supposed to look like? Are we speaking so that we can gain followers? Are we like, what is our purpose behind it? Or is our purpose to glorify the Lord in all that we do? Are we seeking his favor? Are we seeking his approval first and foremost? So it really is a big heart check, right? Like, am I doing this to look successful to the world? Or am I doing this for the Lord? And that's it.
Right.
Like, he can do with this podcast whatever he wants. We are just tools. We are his vessels.
Yeah.
But until we say yes, like you did, Nancy, until we actually get out of our own way and say, yes, Lord, I'm here. You can use me. He can't do anything with somebody just sitting on the couch and saying no.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of fear and insignificance and just those worldly standards of what success is supposed to look like holds us back a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So very cool. So Rhema kind of sent you these questions beforehand, and maybe this is what you're going to touch on too, is more of this podcast stuff, but tell us about a specific time the Lord restored a piece of your story that you thought was lost.
Yeah, I mean, I could go so many ways with that. Like the first thing I thought of was like the fear and the busyness, but I already told you that story. Something else that we were just talking about offline that maybe I'll veer towards is, so my husband and I have been married 19 years, and I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. Maybe about 3, 4 years into our marriage, we decided to move back to Iowa. Both of us are from Iowa, very small towns after living in the Denver metro area. And um, since we lived in the Denver metro area, we came to a church together and found our own kind of like faith. I was raised Catholic. I'm so grateful for the faith that my parents gave me, and they were always praying, and we were always just so faithful, loving God. But Chris and I came to more of just a non-denominational church, and we just grew, and our faith grew, and then we moved back to Iowa, and the small towns don't have the non-denominational churches like we had started to get used to and started to grow in. And we had tried a few, and it just was not happening for us. So we decided, okay, what we'll do is what probably a lot of people are doing right now, and that's just like listening to podcasts, sermons, online church. And I have never been so depressed or sad in my life. And I couldn't pinpoint it for so long, for years. I was trying everything that I could to get myself out of this. And I realized that it was because I didn't have a church family that and maybe it's not the same for everybody, but I believe that we're meant to be together and that we're meant to encourage one another and build one another up. And it's hard to do that when you're just like listening and not coming together. And I can't give the right things. I can't fully understand why it is, but I also believe that sometimes God's like, but I made you like this, and maybe you don't understand the science behind it, and maybe you want to know the why, but you need to know is that I made you, and I made you to be a creature of connection, right? I mean, I think something we always go to is the three people of, the Trinity, right? Is that even God is a communal God, and he's obviously communal with us, because if he didn't, why would he even keep trying with us, right? And so that was something that it was a very, very hard time in my life, and I just felt like there was no way out. And maybe this is not you, but maybe if someone is listening, maybe go to church. And if you've gone to church, I'm going to be praying for you. Find some people to do community with. I think that it's so hard to do community because we're all broken and we hurt each other no matter if we want to or not. But keep plugging in because God made us for that.
Yeah. Wow.
So once you guys ventured back into church, what kind of changes did you start to see in your life and in your family? Like what brought you restoration?
Yeah, my depression went away. And so with that depression, obviously our marriage was better again. Everything. When you take away like depression, everything flourishes, right? And so, yeah, I'm just thankful that I know that it might not be that easy for someone, and I'm not trying to just like slap a band-aid on for someone who's really hurting. But at the same time, I do want to give that encouragement that maybe that is something to at least try and put yourself out there and give it another chance.
Yeah.
Community has been a huge, huge part of my story. I mean, so many touch points that I can look back on too and go, I can remember one time when my first husband, Matt, had been in a ministry leadership position, and we just had the craziest, weirdest experience of like being fired. And it was very unclear and a confusing time. And we just really got taken under the wings of some pastor friends of ours in like a smaller church community. And they literally rehabilitated us. Like God used them to restore us. And then of course, when I walked through my husband being so sick and passing away, like it was hard to be vulnerable with my community, but I can't even imagine walking through that without them. Because it was just like, I had to be open to letting them step in and helping me out. And It was never glamorous. I didn't go to this huge church with lots of flashing lights and perfect worship team or anything. But at the end of the day, it was the people who showed up and prayed for me, discipled me, were there with me in the middle of the night. It's like, wow. If we let God, he will orchestrate that for us. And it often comes from the most unlikely of places. That's been my experience, at least. So, yeah, right on.
Story I shared at the beginning about like getting into that prayer with people. Again, that was something that was not in my comfort zone, but I got together with these women and I was vulnerable. I shared with them and God spoke through that. If I had just had that in my head, it would not have been the same in any way, right? I could have completely dismissed it. Oh, that was in my head. Or, I mean, this only could be done in that community.
Yeah. There's power in that. There's power in being with other people. And I think that when we are walking through those seasons of depression or darkness or hard times, whatever those look like, it's even harder to invite people in. Because like you said, Nancy, we're all broken and we all come from this individualistic mindset, right? Of like, well, we have to get ourselves together before we invite people into this mess, or we have to look a certain way or act a certain way. Exactly like we were talking about in the beginning of this, right? Like we have these expectations of what people have not put on us, but we've put on other people to put on us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they're not true, but the enemy loves to come in and make those lies bigger and bigger and bigger and push us further into that hole of isolation so that we can't even imagine letting people into our mess.
Right. I say, like, that's exactly what the enemy will do to get us further away from it, is just tell these little lies of, you don't need them, they're going to only hurt you, or will it really help? Like you finally make that coffee date or whatever with that person. Like, okay, I just really need to open up. I need some prayer. I need to share. And then it's really easy to say, oh, I'm not really feeling very good today. I'll just cancel, right? There's like this little way out, like I did when I wanted to go use the bathroom to get away from prayer, right? Like we give ourselves these little excuses that might not seem very big, but sometimes they can be, or they add up and they become really.
Yeah, to the point that we don't even recognize ourselves. Rhema, do you remember when we were first trying to get together when I had first moved out here? It took us months because there was like one little thing after another, and it was primarily my fault, right? Like it just kept going. And I told you that first time you walked into my house, I was like, I know that the Lord wants us to be friends, but I know that the enemy is trying to keep it from happening.
Yeah. I think it's so funny. I think God has really set me free from a lot of those things because, we just moved to Cheyenne a few months ago and I don't know a lot of people yet, but I'll have people over even with the house crazy. And Brian's kind of like, can we get things a little more unpacked? And I'm just like, no, this is how I've learned to live life. Like I have kids, like sometimes our house is clean, sometimes it isn't, but I want to show hospitality and openness no matter where I am in my life. And like last night, my daughter and I, we brought some peaches home from Palisade and we decided to walk around the neighborhood and hand some bags out to some neighbors. And it was interesting because it was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I went right next door and there's this sweet little old lady and I met her and I love her little dogs. They like come and bark at us all the time and they're so ferocious and cute. And so I use that as a segue. And I just was like, hey, I'm your neighbor. I'm right across the street. If you need anything, let me know. I just want to introduce myself. And she goes, usually the new people in the neighborhood don't do that. And I was like, oh, I know, but I just thought it'd be a nice icebreaker. And I'd just like to get to know you guys. And so I know I'm a little crazy and I think very different.
Yes, you are.
And I looked at my daughter and I was like, we could do this with Christmas cookies too. At Christmas time. But so I don't know what'll come of it, but and I also recognize too, like community often needs to be organic as well. And I think it can be difficult to wait sometimes for God to bring it to fruition, because that is the other side of it, is you can get into this headspace of just pushing and pushing and pushing, and he doesn't want us to feel that pressure either. So it is, I feel like it's a delicate trusting act. Like I'm in that right now, kind of going, okay, God, I know you have community for me. I have no clue what that looks like. Building off of these different seasons I've been through now, I've seen you be faithful again and again and again. I know you're going to bring it to me at the right time and in the right way. Like show me how much to be active and how much to pull back, how much just let things be, and also when to take that chance. Like one of my neighbors, after we visited, she texted me today. She's like, "You want to go for a walk soon?" And I need to say yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's that first kind of little olive branch, and it's going to be awkward. We don't know each other at all. But I'm like, we could go for a walk around the neighborhood and just see how it goes, right? And
Yep.
you never know. That could be the beginning of something totally beautiful.
Yeah.
So
that's such a good idea too, though, Rhema, because I have done this to myself, and I probably do it to myself all the time. But one thing I'm thinking of right now is sometimes churches in the best way will be like, you have to have a mentor, you need to be a mentor, right? And they kind of get in, like, I don't know if you guys have felt that before. Yeah. It's like, you have to be mentoring someone, you have to be mentored by someone. And I did have a mentor for a while, and then something happened in her life, and it just wasn't able to be possible. And I have not found a mentor yet, and it's been years. And sometimes if I hear that over and over from like a pulpit or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it right. I need to find a mentor. And then I'll start like reaching out to people, and it is not working. It's not like they can't even find time to have coffee with me, let alone mentoring so hard to make this happen. And it's not. And I have to, like you said, like find this balance, like try, but not be upset when it doesn't. And yeah, that's such a, like, isn't life like that? And it's like, yes and no, and push and don't push. And
yeah. And it's funny. We've talked a lot about striving on our own ideas, our own fruition, whatever it may be. That usually lands us flat on our face, right? Like if the Lord's not in it, we don't want it. That's basically how we need to live, right? If it's not God doing the work here. So just having that willing spirit and saying, yes, Lord, send me. Let's go. Let's do this. Bring me to the community that you need to use me in. That's another way of looking at it too. Like, I think oftentimes we get into this idea of what can community bring to me? Like, why do I need community? I know the Lord, like I walk with him daily. And really it's how could the Lord use me in a community to bless someone else? You know? So
right.
that's so good. Sorry guys, I'm looking up a quote. Keep talking if you don't see my eye contact.
You're good. If you could go back, Nancy, to before you moved to Iowa, what would you tell yourselves? Like, what would you tell you and your husband before you moved back?
I would say, even if you didn't find, quote unquote, the perfect church, to just plug in. And I think a misconception that we're all looking for is a perfect church, and it's not going to happen because we're not perfect people. And so to find a perfect church is impossible with imperfect people. But we do have that, I believe. I hear that a lot in circles of like, oh, I'm just going to find this church. I'm going to find this church. And in the Western world, I don't know that we understand how much, like how blessed we are to be able to say that, like that you can just search hop or find what you're looking for. Or, yeah, that kind of upset me. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. You know, you're looking at people that are dying for their faith.
Yeah.
And sometimes we take it a little cavalier, I guess. So just plug in and not worry about that.
Yeah. And that's something that really guides me a lot when I think about looking, needing to find a new church community, or I've moved or whatever. Eugene Peterson, who did the Message translation of the Bible, he was a huge advocate for just like Go to your local church, whatever it is. God has called you to be where you are. And that's so countercultural to our current first world Christian culture. You're right. It's like, I mean, all the accusations around church shopping, and I've got to find the perfect kids program and all these different things. And I remember for me, it boils down to like, who's going to pray for me? Right? Because you're right. I can get something from anywhere around the world, anytime at my fingertips.
Yeah.
But who's actually going to see my need, or like God, the Holy Spirit's going to use in unique ways, right, to touch my life. And then the quote I was thinking about too, from the Greatest Showman movie, which was from a long time ago, but there's this moment in the movie where P.T. Barnum's wife, they've been estranged, and she looks at him and she goes, "You don't need everyone to love you, just a few good people." And I remember when she said that to him, it just like changed his whole outlook, because he realized he'd been spending his whole career so hungry and thirsty for audience and like all of these people to love him and to want him more and more and more. And I'm like, isn't that a huge part of connection too? Is, we might find a church community, but maybe we really do only meet one family that we connect with.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like sometimes maybe God only has that one family for you to do some life with. And then maybe at other times it will be more flush, if you will, right? Like, but for me, he's always brought me people I didn't expect. And when I let him do that, it's the most beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, man, I love how this is like coming full circle to how we open this up about just letting him lead the way and not having the Americanized version of Christianity set those expectations for us, right? Like the culture doesn't get to decide how our podcasts look. The culture doesn't get to decide how church looks for us. It's what the Lord wants for us. And that's going to be way better than anything the culture could tell us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something that just happened a few weeks ago. I got to go to Nashville to meet with a mentor coach that I had, and I had it in my head that I was going to get on some podcasts, and like Nashville's very like a Christian like epicenter, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, like I put this burden on me, right? Thinking the other day of like Matthew 11:30, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. But I make my yoke heavy by throwing this stuff on there that God never said, you need to do that. You need to do that. No, it's not bad. I don't think to try to like better yourself or get your ministry to like more people and things like that. But I had it so much in my head. And when it didn't work out, I was so upset. And I still went, and I got to meet with my friend, and she is so lovely. And I'm sitting here at breakfast with her. I barely ever get to see her. And I'm like, I don't know if this trip is worth it. And she said to me, and she said it so lovingly, but she was like, what would make it worth it, Nancy? And I was so like, I think of it like every day now. I'm like, this woman that I love spending time with is sitting with me, and I'm getting hours with her, and we're having awesome conversation, and we're talking about our kids, and like, what could be better? And I'm still somewhat bemoaning that I didn't get what I wanted or what I thought should happen or what God should have had for me. And so such a I think a good story of a reminder of sometimes we put our own burdens on us, and God's like, I told you my yoke is light. And also you have a friend right there in front of you. You missed my whole thing, Nancy. You missed it, or you almost missed it. Thankfully she spoke truth into me, and I was able to just like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing? But I wanted to share that.
No, that's a great reminder. Great reminder to love the people that you're with, to love the community that you're in. Maybe you've been trying to change the people around you. Like, if only they acted a certain way, or they wanted to do this, or they did that, or whatever. Maybe we're just called to love them where they are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we were talking a little bit about this before we started this podcast tonight, about how important real connection is with people because of this world that we live in with advanced technology, and it's getting crazy. It's getting absolutely crazy. I don't understand any of it, Rhema. Like, I'm not like you. I'm not smart, okay? But
Stop it.
I read some of these headlines and I'm like, well, that's literally out of this world. I don't understand. But ultimately, the value of actually connecting with each other is going up, right? Those in-person connections, so valuable.
Right. I think we thought it was going to skyrocket after COVID, but something happened in our psyche, and for some people it did. Like, it was more isolating. But I think with this AI, and as scary and weird, I don't even know if I want to know everything we do, but in a way it's forcing us. And I think this is like God will do, like he'll do great things even in scary times or uncertain times, is that you're seeing people wanting more in-person connection because they don't know who to trust. Like, is that a real person on a screen, or is that AI? Because it is phenomenal what they can do, or can make it sound like what I'm saying right now is, they could make me look like I'm saying something completely different. And so I think it's forcing people back into those, okay, let's just get together. Let's go on a walk, like you said, and let's talk and get to know each other.
Yeah, and for me too, going through my season of, walking my husband through his sickness and then being widowed, it was like my social reach out had to become simple. Like, part of me loves to be a lavish hostess and like cook these huge dinners and have parties and stuff. And then I realized, like, hard stop, that is just not my season right now. And so I had to kind of go, well, what does it mean to connect with people then? Like, it really is about just facilitating that space where we can let down a little bit and have some good eye contact and not be in a rush. Wasting time with God or wasting time with friendship. That's a quote I heard just this last week on another podcast, actually. Just the idea that we get so hyper scheduled that we forget that a lot of friendship comes out of just that nothing time. We're just hanging out. There's no agenda. We're just getting to know each other. We're not trying to get something from each other. And so I find myself finding community that way, because I can't offer the fake or the hyper scheduled or the hyper exciting community right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what if really it is just about me offering me, slowing down and wasting time, quote unquote. And that's how Jesus sees us and walks with us too, is he doesn't have an agenda. I think he's sad when we have an agenda with him, and he wants our friendship too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so well put. So well put. And we're so easily distracted, with social media and all that. Like, we're just used to doing the next thing, being in the next spot, shopping for the next grocery haul. That's just me. Maybe, I don't know. But I think we're always thinking 2-3 steps ahead of ourselves. But actually putting the phones away, putting technology away, and being one-on-one with people or in a group of people, it changes you. And the Lord works through that. Just like I was talking about that concert, seeing so many people just being there in the presence of the Lord, worshiping, there's power in that. When you can actually feel the Spirit moving. Oh, it's so good. So good. And I wanted more and more and more and more of it. Sorry, I'm back to talking about the same concert again. This is going to be for like the next 15
I
episodes,
love this.
just so our listeners are aware.
And again, Joy would like to share about CC Winans.
One more time.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good. I also was thinking about how when I sum up like what I miss about Matt, my first husband, it's not the big things like the big trips or I don't know, even huge moments like our wedding day or things like that. It's honestly like the small everyday life stuff, right? Just where we were wasting time.
Yeah.
or worshiping or things like that, right? It's like if I could go back and do anything, it would just be a normal day.
Yep.
That's the connection we do all crave, is having people in our orbit to do everyday life with.
Yep.
Because to be seen, like to be witnessed, I think is the deepest cry of our hearts. And stems
For
back
sure.
to like, we want God to witness us too. And he does. He knows us inside and out. There's nothing to hide. And that is a scary part of community too, is that if you're truly opening up, you are showing yourself without projections, without ambitions, right?
Yeah, without masking it all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And not that we do this with everybody, right? But I feel like God will give us opportunities to have vulnerability like that in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And what a gift, because he's trying to show us a piece of himself too. Just what does it mean to be everyday Rhema, witnessed as everyday Rhema?
Yep. Yep. So, and just like you said, Nancy, if you wouldn't have shown up in that prayer circle and actually shown your true colors, then you wouldn't have gotten to experience that. I believe you still would have gone on to do a podcast. God would have gotten your attention some other time. It's not a one and done with God, right? Like if you mess up one chance, it's not like you're out of chances. And I'm preaching to myself when I say that too, because I've made plenty of mistakes when trying to build community. But when you were actually vulnerable and people were able to speak into your life, then that's so cool. And when you get to experience those moments, it really does help create just the pathways that you're walking on, right? Like that you'll never be the same. You're a changed person after that. Like, oh yeah, remember? Yeah, just remember when God got a hold of my heart that one time, he can do it again.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing, is those times where we remember. And that's what I think you guys are doing. And that's what I love doing with the podcast, is reminding ourselves, reminding our listeners about truths that they probably already know. Maybe they don't. Maybe some of it's new. But we all need reminders. And that's why God keeps on telling us over and over in the Bible, like, remember this, remember my faithfulness, story. And that's why he even had the festivals for the Israelites, is a remembrance of, I took you out of Egypt. Remember what I did for you. Remember. And so to have some of those stories of your own to remember when it gets hard, when something comes up, and you can go, oh yes, God came through at that time. He's going to do it again.
Yeah. I love that. I feel compelled to say this. We were walking through a really hard time back in 2020 of joblessness and just not knowing like a sense of direction. I started in a journal. Every night I would write in this journal of what the Lord had done that day, or what he had shown me that day, or the prayers that we were praying that specific day. And over time, like every single night, I would jot something down. I still look back on those notes just to see God's faithfulness, just to see how he was moving and what felt like we were trudging through mud, right? Like we didn't know when we were going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And he was still moving. He was coordinating everything for his purpose, for our good. So maybe that's a good place to start. If you're in a place of loneliness or despair today, maybe just start jotting down what the Lord is showing you. Do that a little bit every single day. Let it build and see what he reminds you of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing with us, Nancy. I'm really appreciative that I know that was probably even a little bit scary to say, because you don't want to face judgment of like, oh, well, I do go to online church and I get something out of it. We don't all have the same convictions about things, but ultimately, I'm really appreciative that you said that and just reminded people, hey, let's get out there. Let's meet with people. Let's be
Yeah.
real.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Rhema, would you like to close us out in prayer tonight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Jesus, thank you so much for Nancy. I thank you that you have put words on her heart to share as well. I sense that you have given her a gift to help others draw out their stories. And I pray that you would today begin even more and more to release a floodgate in her heart of her own story to share more and more. I just speak blessings over her life, over her family, over her school year with her kids. And I pray that you would continue to raise her up to speak life to both her physical community and her online communities. And God, I just thank you so much for the reminders today of how you just want to slow down and connect with us and help us to connect with others as well. And I pray that everyone who's listening would be encouraged to reach out and continue to find community as well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Nancy. And everyone who's listening, please check out Nancy's podcast too. We'll link it.
Yep. Link in our
you.
show notes. See it below.
Thank you. I so enjoyed chatting with you, and I have enjoyed listening to your podcast. And I'm just so excited to see that God is working in so many different ways on so many different platforms. And I'm so glad you guys said yes to doing for my song.
Awesome. Thank you. You too.
All right. Well, we'll see or hear you guys later. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to growing our community together. We want to continue telling the stories of where the veil between heaven and earth is so thin and we can see God at work in our lives. To help us grow this community, please do share this podcast. We're working on being on lots of platforms, but whatever platform you found us on, please give us good reviews, leave comments. You can even just add stars, give us a 5 out of 5, shameless plug. Also, if you want to contact us directly, you can find us on Instagram at RestoreMySong, or also send us an email at restoremysong@gmail.com. All right, we'll see you soon.